Hello everybody. So, we're back with another video. It's a little different than last time because last time we were doing Arduino. Now we're back to Python. And so today we're doing Fibonacci Sequence, the Fibonacci Sequence. And I got this idea I was just thinking of what video to make. And I was like, I haven't done the Fibonacci Sequence. And at the time, I was thinking of the number sequence generator that I had made in Scratch the other day. And so I decided to do this. And so how this works now is basically it defines a function called Fibonacci. And now, in this function, it makes a sequence. So the list sequence contains 0 and 1. So for all of you who don't know how the Fibonacci sequence works, it goes 0, 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, and so on. And if you don't see the pattern here, it adds 0 and 1 are already there. And so you add 0 and 1 to get 1. Now you add 1 and 1 to get 2. 1 plus 2 is 3, 2 plus 3 is 5, 3 plus 5 is 8, 5 plus 8 is 13. And so it goes so on. I'm not going to accept that change because then I have to erase all that. And so what I do here is I make the sequence list with 0 and 1 in it, like I just explained. And now there's a for loop, so it can add up numbers. But you may be asking, how do you add up the last two items of a list, even if they're both integers? Like, how do you get the index value of them? Do you have to keep increasing the index value of the number that you add up in the next number that you add up, or what? Well, in Python, that is actually implemented already. It's with negative numbers. So -1 is 1 before the end of the list, which is the last number. And so the last number plus the second to last number equals the next number. And so it's going to keep doing this. So 0 plus 1 is, 0, in this case, 1 would be -1 because it's the last number. 0 would be -2 because it's the second to last number. Now it's going to keep doing that, and what will be defined as -1 and -2 will change as the list grows, because one of them is going to be the last number, one of them is going to be the second to last number. And so after it has done that from 2 to the parameter n here, because if you start at 0, then you're definitely not going to get anywhere, because then you won't need these two and it's not going to work. And so you need to start from 2 to n. And so it goes from 2 to n, keep doing this. Then afterwards, it returns the sequence. And so, how that works, afterwards, so this is what it returns from the function. Functions are supposed to return values unless like in Arduino or C++ or something, there's a void command that specifically tells it to not return anything, which is just if you want to categorize things. And now, I just modified this a few minutes ago. So then there's a try and accept piece here. And so try numTerms. So numTerms is the variable that gets an input from the user, and after it gets that input from the user, it turns it into an integer. And now and you may be wondering again, how can you turn a string into an integer? Well, only if they type in numbers, of course, but if they didn't type in numbers, it'll give a value error. But in this case, it didn't work like that. It just kept saying, this did not get defined, this did not get defined. Anything that I entered did not get defined. That's not anything that I entered that wasn't a number it just kept saying it's not defined, and it kept giving me a name error instead of a value error. So I just turned value error into name error. And so if it does work, and it can convert it, it will print this. If it can't, then it will just print that, and then you have to run the thing all over again. And so that's how that works. Another thing to mention is basically that try and accept only works when, so the accept only runs when there is an exception. Sorry for the gaps. And afterwards, you can if you want, but you can also put a finally area. So it's basically like try and accept is basically like when you try and accept is basically it's basically an if, elif, else. So try is if, but elif is like accept, else is finally. So else doesn't always run. Else only runs if these two aren't true, but this is different. This one only runs if try has an exception in it somewhere. And this one always runs every single time. And so what we can write here, perhaps, is print program executed. I wouldn't say successfully, but you know what? Fine. Have it your way, GitHub Copilot. Okay. And so that's how that works. Now for a review. The Fibonacci sequence, the spiral of everything. So this is how it works. I've already explained this, you can read that. The sequence automatically starts with a 0 and 1. To continue the sequence, you must add the last two numbers to get to the next number in the sequence. For example, 0, 1, 0 plus 1 is 1, 0, 1, 1, 1 plus 1 is 2, 0, 1, 1, 2, 1 plus 2 is 3. This will happen many times. The Fibonacci sequence is one of the most easiest to implement. And so, let's see an example in Python. So this is the one that I've just showed you. This defines the function with the parameter n. This defines a list called sequence. This is a for loop from any var with any var. I just replaced that with I. For any var variable from 2 to n, and it appends a new number that's equal to the last number plus the second to the last number, return values n from sequence. So basically it returns the entire sequence. And then here it prompts the user. And then it prints the returned value of the function after giving the user input as a parameter for the function Fibonacci. And so that's it for today's video.